All right, guys, welcome back for part two. We're gonna finish up the design and get to a finalized version, at least a good enough version, to do what I need to do with that. So, well, without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, this is the last prototype that we printed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it over a little bit out of the way. I'm going to create another sketch. And I'm going to do it on the same face that one was originally done on. I'm going to move this over like I said. So what I want is I'm going to create a rectangle. We set it up for construction lines. And the height of it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to select a random height here, tab up. Now I'm going to put the 16.3 millimeters there. So let's zoom into this a little bit here where we can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to draw a line, also a construction line, and I'm just going to make sure it's square to that or horizontal. So we'll put that on there. Now using these construction lines, I'll draw a circle. This one's not going to be a construction line. It will be a solid. And we'll start it, it's going to be coincident with this line right here. Actually, let's just draw it, let's start it off first. And we'll pull it out, and we're going 5 millimeters. Now, I'm going to select the center point, and I'm going to select this line by holding the control, and then I'm going to come up to constraints up here, and I'm going to make them coincident. And you see it pulled that circle down to where the center point is coincident on that line. I'm going to do the same thing real quick on the other side over here. Just draw a 5 millimeter circle, select that and that line, and we'll call them coincident. Now, what I want to do is take this circle and this line, and I want to make them tangent. So we're going to go that here, and we're going to select tangent, and you see it pulled it over to that line. Do the same thing over here, that to that, and pulled it over. Now I did the exact same thing as if I had come in and said, if I'd have put these exactly 21.3 millimeters apart. But the thing is now I can take this measurement here because it's 16.3, but I want to make sure I've got a little bit of wiggle room in that, because since that radiused area actually comes up in an angle, I've got a little room going up that I can afford to be a little bit sloppy in this measurement. So I don't want to be 16.3. I think I'm going to go 16.5. And when I change this, it should push that circle. It pushed this circle out because it moved this line over. Then I'm going to go around these and I'm going to set an offset on this one, and I'm going to do pull in. Now it's not going to let me do one at a time. I'm just going to do a 1 millimeter offset. That'll give me a shoulder. And then, like I did before on the original, I'm going to do a 2-point rectangle. And I'm going to see if I can, well, let me find the center. And usually if I come down, see that dashed line? That tells me it's referencing, because I hovered over the center and then brought it down. It referenced that center point, and I was able to drag that down. So I've got that rectangle, come back to this center over here and pull it straight up until it hits that edge. There. That's my sketch. So I want to finish the sketch. Then I want to grab all these interior areas. So we'll start with that one, and then I'll just select until I have all of these selected. I don't want that line. Then I want to extrude this. And what I want to do is I want to go down with it. Since it's pointed up, I need to make it a negative. I want to go down -4. Yeah, 4 millimeters looks good. Now, it hid my sketch, so I need to go back and unhide my sketch. Because now I need to, I forgot a circle. That's okay. I'll come back and put it in here in a second. I want to extrude this. And this one I want to extrude. Now I've got 0.5 millimeter thickness on that sheet metal that the shelf is made out of. So I only want to come up 0.5. That's not right. Hold on, let me go remeasure that real quick. No, I was confusing myself. I originally measured it in inches, and it was 50 thousandths, and that's what I had stuck in my head. It's 1.75 or so millimeters, so we're going 1.7 because I want to make sure that it doesn't bottom out on my piece. I want it to pull this area tight up against the shelf when I pull it in. So we'll go with that 1.7 millimeters. I've got something that looks like that. Now I need to go in and edit that sketch real quick. I need to add another circle. Which I need to be a pilot hole for the screws I'm going to use. Give me a second. I need to figure out what that size is going to be. Wasn't as prepared for this as I thought I was. Let's see. M3 tap drill size. It's 2.5 millimeters. Sounds good to me. Maybe I ought to make that an M2. Because that's going to be half of that. Now, a hole's a hole. We're going with M3. We're going to come out with 2.5 millimeters. while I'm setting here, no, we'll do that in a second. Come over here and do the same thing over here. Circle, come out, 2.5. Now, select up all of this. Make sure I don't get that. Oh, wait a minute, I need to finish sketch. Now I need to extrude those. Now for this, since it's coming off the center, it's coming off this plane basically, I've got to go in both directions. So instead of one-sided, it's going to be two-sided. Actually, let's just make it symmetric. Make sure this is set to cut. And we're going to go, let's go 6 millimeters both ways. Make sure that's going to come out the top and bottom. Yes, it is. And we'll say OK. There it is. Now what I want to do here, hide that sketch. I want to take this body, select it. Now I want to export this for right now. As a step file. So what I need is to inspect this. I need a measurement from this center hole to that center hole. And that's 21.5 millimeters. So what I want to do is come over here. Find sketch 3. That'll give me the center point. Close my inspect. It's locking me out of doing anything else. Edit this sketch. I'm going to do a construction line up from this center point. I want to go up about 15 millimeters. And then I'm going to take 2 lines over 10.75 each way. And those are horizontal. Then each one of those will be the center point for the new circles. And if the tap size for a M3 is a 3, then I need to, or is a 2.5, I think the clearance hole should be 3. We're going to go out 3 millimeters. You know, I could do this in one setting and create another circle. And I want I think a 5 will be plenty for the washers. We'll go 6. And I'll counterbore that down. We'll select that. All right, let's hide that body. Mirror that. Those two. And my mirror line, it will be this. That did not work. Why did that not work? Those two should have been mirrored exactly. 10.75. That's, why is that 10.75 way over there? Why is that in two pieces? That's weird too. All right. Okay, align over 10.75. Okay, that's right. Now we can redo these circles. Put one there, make it 3. Put another one there. We're going 6. Now I should be able to mirror this. And my mirror line will be here. And that should be 21.5 inches. And then you double check, inspect from here to there. Well, where did my inspect go? Inspect, measure. From here to there is 21.5. That's what I was trying for originally. I'm not sure. I think I may have, when I was drawing that line, I may have clicked and then told it to go out 10.75, which threw it off. Anyway, we're right now. So now I've got these. We're going to finish this sketch. We'll select these two holes. And they are going to extrude. We are going -10 as a cut. Let's call that okay. Let me come back. There's my number 3. That didn't go all the way through. That one is not. Okay. I was thinking that plane was on that. Well, when I do these counterbores, I'll have to make them a little extra deep. I need that one, and that one. I'm going to extrude. Start at this profile plane. Whew, I have to go down under it to pick that profile plane. And then we want it to go down. I don't want it to go. What the heck is going on here? Escape. Yeah, I did that wrong. Extrude. Then for the profile, I want this and that. Wrong circle. Not that one. That one. for the profiles. That and that. And I want to go down. All right, took me 2 millimeters to get down to that, so let's take it down to -4. And that ought to give me a good countersink in there once I get a once I get a bolt and a washer on that, that ought to give it plenty of room to get out of the way. So let's print this up, see if I did it right. Because right now, I don't even know if I did it right. Export this as a step file. Export. No, I want to change it to final V1. Export that. Let's open up Bamboo Studio. Okay guys, I did go in and make that alteration, but I haven't done anything else with these parts yet. So what I need to do is I need to get them, first I need to get them laying in the orientation in which I want them to print. So we're going to select, well, first we need to separate them. Split them to objects. There we go. And they are two separate objects. Then I want to select one at a time, and I want to select the face I want it to print on, and I want this one to print on this face, because I want that slot facing up. That way I don't have any overhangs, so I don't have to worry about any supports. And I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to print it on that face. And that should print. I do have these open circles here. I may have it run supports up in there. Objects. I don't want them printed out of PLA. I'm going to print them out of PETG for this. Let's slice it and see what that comes up with there. And it didn't tell me I needed supports. It didn't scream at me either. I mean, if I turn supports on, let me go to global. Supports. Let me enable supports. And I'm just going to tell it to support critical areas only and see what it comes up with. Same thing. It did not support anything. I tend to agree. I think those circles will be fine. If I have to, I can take a drill bit and open up these inner ones here a little bit. Might be a little overhang area right there, but I think I can live with that. We're going to go ahead and send that to the printer. And when it gets done doing what it's currently doing, I will print it up. And we'll come back when that's done, see how it all comes together. Okay, guys. Hopefully this will be the final prototype. I may reprint it in a different color, but right now, this is what we got. And no brim and no supports, and that printed just fine. There was plenty of surface area there for that to come out. Holes look really good. If we can get that in there. Those come out a lot better than I thought they would be. There's a little bit of droop in the top of that, but I think that'll be fine in the top of that counter sink, that counter bore. So let's see if that's gonna do what I want it to in that in those slots here. So let me get you turned over here. And let's see. Let's try it in this one for right now. Get turned around here. Okay, it fits between the sides of that really well. Bring it down. Oh, that fits good. It's just shy of the surface, which is kind of what I wanted. I wanted to be able to pull it in tight up against that back. And that should. And I dropped it. Of course I did. All right, after fishing that out from behind all that back there, now I want to see if these holes line up. I'm going to stick it in these counter bores. But I can see through to where, yes, those line up. I don't know if you can see that through that, but there's definitely alignment. Enough alignment I can get screws through those clearance holes and get that mounted. So let me grab some screws and a screwdriver, and we will put this thing up and wrap this all up. Okay, well, in general, it was a partial success. The holes in here were just a little too small. The threads were catching on it, which wasn't a problem on this side. But the problem, these holes, which I set at the tap size for an M3 thread, they're just too small. I even went and got my tap and die set to see if I could tap that hole, and I can't do it by hand. Basically, I just wound up drilling out that side, just a little, this side right here, just a little too much. It wouldn't actually thread it. It was just grinding out the plastic. So I'm going to reprint this part. I think we can salvage this part. So I got M3s through there. They're not loose, but they will spin once it gets down to the bottom, so I can pull and tighten this part up. So we're gonna try and use this one. I'm gonna reprint this one real quick, but with a larger diameter. I think I'm gonna go to about a that was a 2.5 hole, 2.5 millimeters. And I think I'm gonna take it up to about a 2.8 or 2.9 and try that, because this was a 3 millimeter hole and the threads were trying to catch in it enough where as I was screwing them in, they pulled the screw in, and I can't push it out with my finger, but I think if I put enough force on it, it would push right out without doing too much damage. So let me reprint that, go in and make some changes and reprint it, and we'll come back. All right, let's see if this is gonna solve the problem. And yes, I printed it in a different color because I think I'm gonna wind up reprinting the main part also. White is just so boring. I'm gonna let this cool off a little bit. I don't wanna warp it too much, but this shouldn't take long. I'll get it off the plate and we'll test it out. Well, let's see if this is gonna work. Now, I will show you that originally I had some socket head cap screws that I was using M3s, but the head of them stuck up a little proud of this surface. I could have put the counter bore in a little deeper, but for this test, at the very least, I'm going to leave the counterboard where it is, and I just changed to some button head cap screws. So those will fit in there just nicely. So this is the new part. And yeah, I printed it in a different color because eventually I'm going to reprint this to match this. But this was only a 10-minute print just by itself. And I wanted to make sure that this was going to work with that whole size change. If I have to go to a heat set insert, that's going to be a whole new print. So just wanted to do this so we could test this while we're here. So let me see if I can get this maneuvered in here, one-handed. Okay, so you didn't have to watch all of the fumbling around. I went ahead and got it lined up. I've got these screws in here. We're still doing this kind of awkwardly, but well, that's going in there. Feels like it's going to be solid. There is some wiggle there. See how much tightening down on it. Well, I wonder if I put wings on the back of this to fit on each side of that. That would probably stop all of that. I probably also could shorten that boss on it. Let me tighten down on it a little more. I could put a couple of nubbins on the back to catch that bottom, the slot that's right under here. Things to think about. But for a first design, I think we're going to go ahead, mount that up there. That holds it all right. It does still have that wiggle. It does still go up and down, and that's a little bit loose, but the weight of it should hold it in there fine. So for a first attempt, I think we're gonna call that a win for now. And I may revisit this in the future, may or may not film it. You might just see the changes in the background. Well, that's it for this week. Glad you came along. I hope you learned something. I could share my little bit of meager knowledge about fusion and designing. If you subscribe, we'll go on more adventures like this. So for now, we're saying goodbye. See you next week. Thanks for stopping by.